the Warriors are headed into a little bit of a new direction here after losing Klay Thompson in a sign and trade to the Dallas Mavericks. And while they did lose him, it was kind of their decision as well, because Klay Thompson, it's been reported that they were seeking just about $20 million per year, which ultimately really isn't that much money to be dishing out, especially in comparison to feel like what the ideas of his expectations were during the regular season. $20 million really wasn't all that much, but the Warriors were not willing to pay that, and ultimately he is on his way to Dallas. So we have a new iteration of the Warriors for next year, and they have made some moves so far this offseason. Just yesterday, we got the news that they are doing a sign and trade with the Philadelphia 76ers to acquire Buddy Hield. They ultimately send a second round pick that's initially from Dallas. I think it's in 2031. So down the road, pretty much no cost for the Warriors there. Contract details around this are a little bit weird. The first 2 seasons are fully guaranteed, where he's going to be making $18 million. It's a little bit of a steal in terms of value, I at least think. I know that Buddy Hield isn't this, franchise-changing player, but he's one of the best shooters in the NBA, and I think he's going to fit really well into the system that they have there in Golden State. There's partially guaranteed money for Hield in the 2026-27 season, and then there is a player option for some non-guaranteed money in a 4th season. So again, some of the details there are a little bit shaky. We will definitely keep you updated with them as we get more of a clear picture as to what that means. But I do really like the addition of Buddy Hield for the Warriors. They are going to be playing through Curry, of course, and Hield is somebody who I think can be a threat off the ball, who has shot 40% from the three-point line throughout his career on 7.6 attempts per game, so a pretty good sample size and volume there that Hield is going to be a reliable shooter for them. And obviously, it didn't work out for him in Philadelphia. The 76ers traded for him at the deadline in February, and it started off really hot there in Philly, at least with Buddy Hield, a couple big performances, but ultimately it just didn't work out. And by the playoffs, he was somebody who wasn't even really a consistent rotational player for them in the postseason. And I think that the 76ers did mishandle that a little bit. Now, obviously, Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the NBA, so he knows what he's doing, absolutely. But it was very strange to me, where games 1 through 3, Buddy Hield scored a total of just 2 points and took only 4 3-pointers. This is somebody that you brought in for the shooting and the extra amount of scoring, and he wasn't even really getting the types of looks that make him, he's make or break almost by the 3-point shot. It's not like he's an excellent defender or a great rebounder, but it's not even like he was shooting bad. He just wasn't even shooting. So, he ends up getting DNPs in games 4 and 5, and then game 6 he got some minutes late in the second quarter. And he ended up going, ballistic for a bit there. 17 points in the first half and knocked down 6 3-pointers in the game. But even then, they waited a while into the second half after seeing what he did in the first half to actually insert him back into the lineup. So, ultimately, it was just a failed experiment there. It was pretty low cost for the 76ers to make the deal in the first place. It's not something they're going to be losing sleep over. But even in that last game, the last time we saw him, knocked down 6 threes. I think that he is going to be able to still have that 3-point shot, and the Warriors are going to be able to utilize him in a better way than the 76ers did. So he is, play style-wise, kind of a replacement for Klay Thompson. Not that you're ever going to replace the prime years of Klay or anything like that. NBA Twitter, as Nelson of our basketball podcast pointed out, has been sort of calling them the splash buddies of Steph Curry and Buddy Hield in this instance, obviously off of the Splash Brothers. But I do think that he's going to be a pretty good fit there in Golden State. And the Warriors have made some other moves as well, bringing in DeAnthony Melton and Kyle Anderson. They got Melton on a one-season deal, signing him to the mid-level exception, and then they got Kyle Anderson on a 3-year deal worth $27 million. DeAnthony Melton is a player that I don't think is very well known in the NBA, but he is a very good two-way player that has dealt with a lot of injuries last year in Philly, and for that reason, I think has sort of fallen off of people's radars. But, this is a very playable piece off of the bench that is going to provide you good minutes. And again, last year was injury. He was dealing with injuries, and, his overall level of play wasn't quite at the level that I'm sure he expects out of himself. But I thought that this was a very underrated move from the Warriors and is going to be a good fit. Now, Kyle Anderson, I don't quite feel the same way. Anderson's a good player. I just don't know if I love the fit in with the Warriors. Now, there is definitely, he's, again, good player, veteran presence. This is a very young Warriors team, really outside of Steph Curry, where you are going to be leaning on minutes from some of these younger players, and Brandon Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis, Jonathan Kuminga, all the likes there. So adding in some older players there, definitely not a bad move either. Melton actually just 25, I believe he is, 25, 26. 26, just turned 26 years old. So, somebody who feels like a little bit of a veteran there, but actually is on the younger side. And then Buddy Hield, he's 31 years old now. So you're adding in a handful of experience. And it is interesting to wonder about now of, is there going to be another move for the Warriors? Because they have been sort of tied to Lauri Markkanen in the past couple of weeks. The Warriors are a team that, like I just mentioned, they have all of these young players. I didn't even mention Moses Moody in that group as well. But they have a lot of these young pieces that are talented players. Do you think that you can lean on them heavily for a playoff run? I mean, it's possible. I wouldn't entirely rule it out. But at the same time, you just let Klay Thompson walk. What is your pitch to Steph Curry if you're the Warriors at this point? What's your pitch of what the vision is? Is it just sort of having him coast to the end there, having semi-competitive teams with the Warriors? Or are they going to do him the justice of giving him one last run? And I wouldn't say the Warriors are close to being championship contenders once again. I do feel like there is a way to make this happen, though. Now, it sounds like from the Golden State party that they do have confidence that Andrew Wiggins has been dealing with all of these off-the-court issues the past couple years, a lot of personal stuff, and that they can revive him of sorts to being that great player that he was during the 2022 playoff run. I would like to think that it's not a diminishing, injuries or skill base that has led to some down seasons for Wiggins, that I really do feel like whatever he's dealing with off the court, those personal issues have taken a toll on him to some degree. But you need better play out of that small forward position. Is it going to be Wiggins internally getting himself right? Or are the Warriors going to go out and make a move? And it's not just the small forward position. I think it's interesting because you look at a couple of these spots where, Andrew Wiggins, we know he has to be better. And part of the biggest reason from that is the fact that they're paying him all of this money. And it's only going to get worse in terms of how much he'll be making. So they really feel like they need to restore some of that value. But also playing in the Western Conference against the likes of Nikola Jokic and the size that the Minnesota Timberwolves can throw at you, they don't really have a big man that you can, pencil in as being a defensive anchor. I like Trace Jackson Davis a lot, even going back to when he was at Indiana in college, and he was a really fun revelation for them last season that was able to play big minutes for them, and so some of his work on the glass was really impressive. But at the same time, there really isn't anybody, and maybe the Warriors can talk themselves into it being Draymond Green playing the 5, but even when you play the Nuggets, obviously it's dealing with Jokic, the post player, one-on-one, and then it's also having a secondary bigger defender that can stop those baseline cuts from Aaron Gordon. So I still feel like they should be looking to add a center as well. Whether they will or not is a different question, but I've been saying for, just about a year that I would love to see. I know he doesn't fit in perfectly in terms of the spacing aspect and next to Draymond Green with the shooting, but Jarrett Allen is somebody that I think is very gettable in the NBA right now, just considering where the Cavaliers are at. And he's somebody that more teams should be calling about. Now, Lauri Markkanen, Brandon Ingram, some of these other guys that are in these trade rumors would also be great gets for them. And if I were them, I would invest into the now, because you still have a Steph Curry who is capable of being the best player on a championship team. Yes, he's a little bit older now, of course, but I don't think that, time has entirely passed him by. They need to have a plan, and I'm just not sure how they are going to play this. I hope that we get to see a fully utilized Steph Curry, but really it's up to the Warriors to decide whether or not that is the case. But we are going to be taking our next break here, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to dive into an Eastern Conference team that is hoping to push the chips in to build around their star player as his years go on in the Philadelphia 76ers with Joel Embiid, and where they stand after they made the move to go out and sign Paul George. So we're going to be diving into that, but first, a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.